So China is losing friends. It is also losing money. Deng Xiaoping had once said, "To get rich is glorious." China enjoyed its riches for a few decades, but now it is seeing the other side. China's economy is getting weaker. Even Joe Biden is not pulling his punches. He says China is a ticking time bomb. When bad folks have problems, they do bad things. That's what the US president said yesterday during a fundraiser. For a change, Biden is right. China does face serious problems, and they're compounding every day. Today, we saw more signs of trouble. One of China's biggest property developers is in trouble. This company is called Country Garden. It has reported a massive loss. How much? $7.6 billion. This is for the first 6 months of 2023. The year is not over yet, so this number could get bigger when the year ends. How big is Country Garden? It is a major player in real estate, but not as big as Evergrande. Nonetheless, its debt pile is scary. Country Garden, as Biden put it, is a ticking time bomb. It owes some $199 billion. This was by the end of 2022. So far, the company was making its payments on time, but this week, the creditors started to complain. Some payments were due this week. Last we checked, they haven't been made yet. The clock is ticking. Country Garden has a 30-day grace period. It started on Monday. If the payments are not made in a month, there would be a default. Will Country Garden be able to honor its debts? The signs are not looking good. The developer is bleeding money and the debt level is high. A default would be the worst possible outcome. Experts are comparing the situation to Evergrande. It was China's largest developer. Evergrande owes some $300 billion. Its collapse started a crisis in China's property sector. A default at Country Garden could weaken it further. This company has 4 times as many projects as Evergrande. So a default will have ripple effects. China's economy depends on the property sector. It's an important source of growth. It contributes to 30% of the country's GDP. Sales have failed to recover. In July, they dropped by more than 33%. The last thing China needs is another default. But like we've told you before, debt is a big issue in China, and Beijing is grappling with it on multiple levels. A default in real estate would be a disaster, but a default by the government would be a catastrophe. China's local governments are also struggling with debt. They've borrowed heavily, and they're unable to keep up with the payments. This is similar to the crisis in real estate, only the scale is much bigger. When local governments were on a borrowing spree, Beijing looked the other way. A lot of loans were off the books. They were not recorded until the crisis got too big to ignore and too difficult for provinces to manage at their level. So how much is this debt? Well, there is no official number because, remember, they're off the books. Since most of these loans were not recorded, we only have an estimate. And this is an estimate from Goldman Sachs. They say the total liabilities stand at $13 trillion, $13 trillion. Beijing is finally making an intervention. They have dispatched teams of financial experts. They're going to more than 10 provinces, those that are the weakest financially. What will these experts do there? They'll scrutinize the books, assess the liabilities, and then find ways to cut debt. What kind of solutions are they planning? They will want to raise more debt, apparently. We got a new report today. Apparently, debts at the grassroots will be transferred to the provinces. Loans worth $139 billion will be shifted. And how will that happen? Well, the provinces will raise money, they will issue bonds, and use that money to pay off debts at the local level. They've even given a name to this idea. It is called the Refinancing Bonds Program. Under this program, every region has been given a quota. This is basically a borrowing limit, a quota. It might sound like a bailout, since officials at the provincial level are effectively buying out debts at the grassroots. But don't be fooled by the jargon. China is just playing games with bookkeeping. Raising more debt to pay off existing loans does not solve the problem. It is just financial sleight of hand. Ultimately, someone has to pay off these loans. Where will China get the money from? Considering the present situation, China does not have many avenues to turn to.